Welcome to the Taxing Subjects Podcast. I'm Ryan Norton. Whether at trade shows or talking to other tax professionals, you've probably heard something about software as a service and cloud-based platforms. Even if you're not exactly sure what software as a service is, I'm willing to bet you've had more experience with it than you realize. If you have a Microsoft Hotmail, Google Gmail, or Yahoo Mail account, you've been using a cloud-based software as a service product. And I bet you know some people who have email accounts dating back to the late 90s. Well, when you use those third-party web-based email accounts, your messages are remotely created and stored on the provider's servers, and the obvious benefit is that you can access all of your email correspondence from any device with an internet connection. But how does software as a service affect other products? What does accessing something like your accounting software from the cloud do for your tax office? Well, 2020, the tax year 2019 filing season, is the second year that Drake Accounting has been included as part of Drake Hosted. Drake Software's cloud-based tax preparation software. And joining me in the studio to explain how that can help your tax office is Drake Accounting Development Manager, Jay Eager. Welcome back to the show, Jay.
Good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, and now I've talked to you quite a bit about Drake Accounting in previous podcasts. I think, we've covered the latest developments in the software, some frequently asked questions, stuff like that. And this felt like right as tax season is starting. We're filming the week prior to tax season starting on the 27th of January, so
sure,
it's imminent.
Yeah, inbound.
Exactly. Take cover. I figured this was the perfect time to get with you and talk about Drake Accounting on the Drake hosted platform, because some people either are still not sure about what they're going to do for tax prep software or accounting software, or they're considering a change for whatever reason in their office.
Sure.
So I thought now would be a great time to talk to you about this and maybe give them one more option that they might not have considered.
Gotcha.
And with that said, let's just jump into it, because
sure, yeah.
You're busy. I bet just a little bit.
It's the season.
It is the season. First question would be, Drake hosted, could you briefly explain what it is?
Okay.
And, people who might not be familiar with Drake hosted, I'm kind of bearing the lead a little bit. I did mention cloud-based platforms in the intro here.
Sure.
But could you explain what Drake hosted is?
Absolutely. Really, in a nutshell, it's the full power of the accounting and tax products, but as you mentioned, in a highly secured cloud environment. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be accounting, tax, your document manager, your scheduler. We also offer for a nominal add-on fee the entire office product suite. So what you're looking at is your entire office on the go.
Right.
It's more or less. Yeah.
All right. Well, then, how is Drake Accounting on Drake hosted? How is it different from, like, say, if I just did the usual people might be more familiar with? Just I get the software, I install it on my machines.
Well, that's the beauty of it. When I say full power, it is the exact same product offered, as you mentioned, as a service. So this is not a different product. It's not a closed product. They are the exact same screens. It's the exact same look and feel. For all intents and purposes, it feels like you've launched it on your machine. The difference, of course, is your machine could be your laptop at an airport, at a rec center, at a customer's office, at a client's office. It's on the go, but they're the exact same screens. Mm-hmm. It is the same product, and it's being delivered securely to wherever you've logged into. And to me, the biggest benefit on that, there's kind of a balance here.
Right.
Everyone wants the flexibility, the ease of use, and that's what we're providing. This is an order of magnitude more secure than, for instance, opening up your machine at your office so that you can access it remotely. I would call that somewhat dangerous. Whereas this way, you have the full benefit of that on the go. I can dial home, I can work, in the accounting product, full version, exact same product, with the convenience of the be anywhere. And you balance that with the security aspect. So on the other side of the equation, let's say, heaven forbid, your laptop is stolen in the airport. The data is not on the laptop.
That's true.
Back on the servers. We have pro-grade Enterprise Edition firewall and antivirus. The software is always up to date on patches, so you're not behind on patches looking to get caught up. It's a balance between ease of use and security, and I think it's one that's well met. You get all the flexibility, and then none of the downside of that. So it is the same product. It's not a different product. It's not a cut down version of the product. Very performant, highly scalable. And
Speaking of scalable, what about, say, tax offices that have multiple locations? Because I know some people who own a tax practice might have multiple offices that they travel between.
Multi-site, yeah.
Right.
We support that and hosted. It can be configured that way. And again, this is something that just allows you the kind of be anywhere approach to your office in a safe manner.
And speaking of be anywhere, what about from anything? What kind of devices are supported for Drake hosted and then Drake accounting on Drake hosted?
Good question. We officially support the Windows operating systems, so any desktop or laptop running current versions of Windows. However, knowing we have a pretty big community of Macintosh users, we have done testing with Citrix makes a receiver for Macintosh, so that works as well. In addition to that, we have done testing on tablets. Ones that come to mind: Nexus 7, Galaxy, Samsung's Galaxy, iPads. Basically, any product that can support a Citrix workspace or receiver will be functional. So it's nice coverage in that manner.
So you definitely get that freedom to be able to deal with either tax prep issues or accounting issues.
Correct, absolutely. Very much an on-the-go full office. Like I said, not a different product, same product presented on your screen. It really is indistinguishable from running on the local machine, which is gorgeous.
One thing that comes to mind when I think of on-the-go and connecting to the internet via Wi-Fi is data security. Now, you touched on that it's secure. What are some ways in which Drake hosted, and then obviously the Drake accounting on Drake hosted, how do those platforms handle security?
Very well. First of all, the entire process is negotiated through industry standard SSL.
Okay.
So it is encrypted end to end. Once you've authenticated through into the Citrix desktop, you're presented with icons for the various applications. As I mentioned, accounting, tax, document manager, scheduler, office products. You launch those, and you're still going to go through the same user setup and security that the desktop products offer. So that's still there. And really taking it a step further, since you mentioned Wi-Fi, one thing we do encourage our customers just to lock down their Wi-Fi. We point out you're only as secure as the Wi-Fi on which you're operating. Clearly on the go at a hotel or in an airport, you don't really have control of that. So this is where I think our support for MFA, multi-factor authentication, really shines. I think MFA and Drake hosted pair well together. So by that, I mean you go through the normal login process. Once you get through that, you're presented with a 2D barcode. Any modern cell phone, smartphone will support an authentication application. Google and Microsoft make these applications. They're free. You scan the barcode, you're presented with a passcode that you enter, and only then are you allowed into the software. Now, the value of that, we mentioned an airport. If someone is surreptitiously shoulder surfing, you don't notice them and they're watching, even if they, heaven forbid, grab your initial credentials, that passcode is time sensitive. So it changes. Every minute it changes. So it becomes stale very quickly and therefore cannot be used to access your account. So pairing the two together gives you that additional layer, multi-factor, more than one factor of authentication, in this case 2 factors. And keep in mind what I said before, all of the data, the entire application isn't actually running on your machine. It's a neat trick because it looks for the world like it is, and it's the same exact application, but it's running from our secure servers.
I don't want to get off the reservation too much, but since we're talking about data security, would you recommend against using hotel Wi-Fi or airport Wi-Fi and maybe favor something like your mobile phone provider internet that you can sometimes use, like your phone as a hotspot?
Sure.
Or get something like
or a
that.
dedicated hotspot.
Right.
It's certainly going to be better. That's why I pointed out the multi-factor authentication. To me, that somewhat mitigates the risk. Like I said, a lot of people go to their customers' offices directly.
Right.
Accountants, especially in small, medium-sized towns, a lot of time they go from shop to shop. I certainly think it's worth the investment. I have my own Wi-Fi hotspot. This will be the same as the latest bulletins coming out about not plugging your cell phone into a charging station at the airport and buying yourself a portable charger.
Right.
Because those can be hacked into, and then you're charging, but not just charging. It is certainly worth it, I think, to have your own mobile hotspot, be it the cell phone or one that you've purposely, it's a dedicated purpose.
Right. But as far as what the software does, you have your usual layers of security,
right,
plus the support for MFA.
Right.
So
and that's where I'm saying,
that data.
If you know in advance that that's how you intend to use hosted, that's when I think it pairs well. That gives you that additional layer, and like I said, mitigates the risk that might normally be associated.
Yeah.
So
let's move on from data security.
Sure.
And talk about something that people who are listening who might not have a firm grasp on the cloud or software as a service. What is the setup process like for Drake Accounting on Drake Hosted?
Sure. That's a good question, actually, and a very important one. It is a year-based product, so those who are familiar with the desktop are used to or accustomed to pulling information from year to year. Of course, we're payroll year, so we're 1 year ahead of the tax year. These are quarterly and annual payroll year forms. So it's an annual product, and every year you do pull data across. When you onboard, if you're onboarding at the beginning of the year, you simply do the normal update prior year process, and instead you choose local drives from which to import. So another neat thing about the Drake hosted environment is it will allow you access to your local drives. It is mapped back, so then you pull that data across. Now, if you're in the middle of a year, you decide to do this, say, after tax season, you're going to want to pull data from the same year across. In that case, you basically pull backups and restore them into the hosted environment. The neat thing on this is we do have onboarding specialists who walk customers through that process.
Yeah,
absolutely. We have dedicated staff for that.
So basically, the process itself isn't terribly complex, but if you feel like you might need a little bit of help, maybe some training wheels, well, Drake has those people ready to help you.
Right. Like I said,
Right.
there is an onboarding process that includes support staff to handle.
Great.
So, yeah.
And now, for those who are interested in giving it a spin, for if they want to use the cloud for their tax prep and then accounting software in this case, how does somebody sign up?
I think the easiest thing to do, if you go to our website, drakesoftware.com, if you pull the top menu, the product menu down, there will be a Drake hosted desktop link there. A lot of good information, more than what we've covered here, a lot of detail. And towards the bottom of that, after a few informational screens, is a form to fill out to be contacted by an onboarding specialist. And then, of course, phone support is 1 to 3 rings away.
Yeah.
And so you could simply call in and ask for a bit of an overview and onboard that way.
The famous Drake phone support.
Industry leading. Absolutely.
Can't argue that point. And just for people at home, again, you can learn more about Drake Accounting on Drake Hosted by going to drakesoftware.com and clicking the Drake Hosted desktop under Products. And if you want to talk to a Drake representative, call 800-890-9500 or email sales@drakesoftware.com.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Jay, it's been a pleasure talking to you again today. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
All right. That's it for today. We'll see you all on the next Taxing Subjects podcast.